Yes, please. They're awesome pens, Yeah, I love them. They just give you a clean line.
I don't know, I feel like when I see one that looks really nice, it makes me feel satisfied. You know when you use some pens, it's like, it's not as caring, but...
Yeah. It's a great review.
Yeah, I agree.
I used to have red.
Is there any juice left in that bottle? Is there any juice left in that bottle?
Yes. I just brought it to the front.
Thank you.
That was a great idea. We need a little bit of energy.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready? Yep.
Yes, we're on.
Okay. Councillor queries.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, look, just because time's getting on, we're going to quickly go through. These are the items that councillors have raised as we've been doing the workshops, and emails were sent to staff just to provide comments. So we want to do that, but just just mindful of the time. What we're proposing to do is, once we get through this, won't do the finance update. We'll go straight to the we'll go straight to having the discussion on potential consultation topics, as the team are actually trying to bring you a high-level Latinised consultation document on the 14th of December. So we really need to get a bit of a steer on what's going to be included in that. So without further ado, we'll go through these items. So the first item that was included was consider the changes to the Wellington NZ funding model. So the comment is that Greater Wellington Regional Council currently rate Kapiti ratepayers $550,000 in total. Changing the funding model, it's just been proposed that instead of Greater Wellington actually rating Kapiti residents at $550, KCDC would do that, so it stays in the region. If we did that, we would need to increase our rates revenue by $550K, which would be an uplift of 0.6%. So it's not in the 12% at all. So it would be a rates increase. The recommendation is that continue to work closely with Wellington NZ. Don't change the funding model just yet. Let Greater Wellington continue to rate for that. And in the meantime, in terms of the draft LTP, there's been quite a lot of budget assigned to ED, 1.4 million as an OPEX for ED initiatives from 24-25 onwards.
That was my thinking as I was looking at that. So we could withdraw from Wellington NZ and not rate for it and use we've got a truckload of money in ED, and ED could drive the benefit that we're not getting from that 550 anyway. That's
So the
your summation?
suggestion on the slide in front of us is to keep funding Wellington NZ. I'm getting the feeling that we don't want to. If we put the 500K in our rates, that's a 0.6% increase.
Yep. So if we don't put it into our rates and go, our ED's got $1.5 million and they should be driving that economic development, it would not be a 0.6% increase.
Can I make a comment? I think, so the current situation is, we have our 1.4 here. Greater Wellington is rating the 550. So they receive it, and then they're meant to be using that money to put into our community. So what we're working with them at the moment on is we want you to spend the whole 550 on our community, which they haven't been doing, and they're going to be coming to talk to you all, and I think it's in February, it's in a February date, about where's that money going and what are they doing, so they're delivering more for us. They haven't offered to not charge our residents, and it's in their LTP at the moment. So what we're saying here is we need to make more of the money that they're collecting and get it directed into our community so we can do other things. And I do need to let you know that they currently do fund some of the stuff that the EDKB has been pushing. So that they put 250,000 in over the last couple of years. So it's not zero, but it's not enough. And the 1.4 that you see is already allocated to some of the stuff that all the stuff we do at the moment, including things like the Major Events Fund. So the 1.4 holds the line. The money that we're trying to get out of Wellington NZ is more. I don't think it's a specific budget or LTP line for this LTP. That's what we're saying.
Thank you.
Where's Nigel? Ah. Liz?
I was just going to say, in relation to the Wellington NZ money, I don't think we should be building anything into our LTP around that. And I would say that if we do manage to wangle that money back out of them, that that should be going on top of the 1.4 million, not to fund it. And I guess if there's maybe it triggers our significance and engagement policy or something, I don't know, if we have to change the rating system or whatever, but that's how I would see it playing out. So it's as Marty just said, it's a bonus, not a way of necessarily replacing what we've already allocated for ED.
I don't think we're giving a clear steer on this at the moment. So I know that Councillor Wilson wants to pull out of Wellington NZ and instruct Greater Wellington not to rate for it. I'm not sure how many people. I don't know that we can just do that.
It's more complex than just instructing.
I think that was my point of raising that they're coming to talk to us in February, so that they could advise what they're doing, how the model works, and what the options are.
So we can just leave this as it is for now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we wait for that heads up. Hang on, I've got Jocelyn next, and then Jocelyn.
So thank you. So I've just looked at our rates, and they're probably more than what most people pay. So we pay $17.25. I assume that this is what the GWCR economic development cost is. That what's actually attributed to this this.
Sorry, we're unclear because it's Greater Wellington.
Oh,
It's Greater Wellington rates, so they
okay.
are sending it out to residents. So I'm sorry, I'm not able to comment on that.
Yes, I suppose I hear what Liz is saying then in terms of adding it, taking it out of the ED fund, and I hear about eroding that. My question, and I also hear that it's raising the rates by 0.6%. My question is, what percentage of rates are most residents paying for this $500,000? It's a bit of a complex question, I know. I know, well that's what I'm looking at. This is what I'm looking at.
I
I
think
think
that-
what we've just heard is that we can't answer that question because it's Greater Wellington rate.
But in February, you might be able to ask that question of
Yeah.
John Allen when he's here.
Yeah, so I suppose where I'm getting at is basically if it actually is so if whatever percentage of our rates that we're paying to GW is, we can actually send it to KCDC to pay out of our rates, and that would not change whatever rate percentage we land on.
It would change it because we would be charging for it where we weren't charging for it before.
I know, but it's a case of where overall the rates would
Yeah.
be the same, but it would be
Yeah.
going to a different source.
So there's no guarantee that Greater Wellington will reduce their rates revenue by 550k. So they may fill that with something else. So the net impact on ratepayers will probably be zero. But in the moment you put 550 or 200, whatever you put in the KCDC rates bill will increase. If you want to put 550 on top of the 1.4, you're increasing rates by 0.6% because you're not currently rating for 550. Another organisation is. But the net impact on your total rates bill, which is Greater Wellington and KCDC, would be 0.
Justin, are you finished?
I'll just make this very quick comment. I see that transport to GW is actually more like $800 per from we're paying, and I'm just wondering whether we're getting value for money for that. And so the same question could arise to those people who live in Te Oro. I'll leave it at that.
Glenn?
My musings on this, and I know that we're going to come back and get this, but up until recently, I was probably the second largest tourism attraction on the Kapiti Coast. Worked with NZ Wellington and saw almost zero value as a business owner in the tourism sector. Literally zero value in that money. So I'll just leave us with that. So I would be quite happy with not rating for it and activating ED to work in that space like they are already. So anyway, but it's a discussion put down the track. Just
Thanks,
thought
Glenn.
I'd leave you with
That's a
that.
useful perspective.
And that
Martin?
I don't speak for the tourism sector, just as someone who's an ex-operator.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Useful to have that perspective. Martin?
Yeah, my take on this is pretty simple. We can't change the rating for Greater Wellington. If we could do that, we'd do it for everything, wouldn't we? So it'll be a hell of a thing. What we haven't had in the past, we haven't had a structure or a body like the ED team or anything like that that can go to bat for us. So it sounds like the groundwork's already started in that space. What it needs to do is be ramped up, and we need to be able to quantify what we're actually getting out of Wellington NZ. And if we aren't happy with it, we push harder and we push harder and we push harder. It's as simple as that. We go down there and bang on the doors. We turn up to their meeting or anything like that. And if we've got an issue with the transport stuff as well, Jocelyn, same deal. Maybe what we need to be looking at is analysing what money Greater Wellington does get. And if we're not getting bang for a buck, it's gone a crusade. I'm quite happy to be spearheading it, go down there and call them out for it. More than happy to. But that's where we're at. I think we just got to start we start paying hardball with them, and we pull Penny in as well. She's our Greater Wellington, and start holding her to account to be answerable with this stuff as well. Put her on the spot. That's my view.
Okay, now Manu.
So, Namanu Nature Reserve. So they've requested $1.9 million funding towards developing the facility further. And we have included $1.5 million in the draft LTP. The bulk of it's in year 3, 200k in year 1, 200k in year 2. It can be treated as CapEx because inevitably, ultimately, the concept is we, as KCDC, are buying an access right, so you can capitalise that. And later on in the presentation, we have actually parked that as a potential consultation topic. So it's in the draft LTP, but it could be a potential consultation topic or not, depending on what you decide.
Liz?
Yeah, I've forgotten the numbers that Namanu put to us as in terms of whether the 1.9 million was a 1/3 contribution, which would then be 2/3 funded by, say, lotteries, or whether that was the entire amount. Because certainly that's what I had talked to them about, was requesting from council sufficient to get that 1/3 cash requirement that lotteries needs. So can you just remind me of what the total cost of their planned development is?
I might need to come back to you on that with specific numbers, but Darren Grant and the team had, I think, put the numbers in. So I understood that they were asking that amount from council. So we're taking the council line, as my understanding, but double check and get back to you. I guess the key point here was that we have found an opportunity to fund through CapEx rather than OpEx directly, so that we were able to, I'll say probably inappropriately, but kill two birds with one stone in terms, that's why I said inappropriately. From the perspective, though, that we'll be able to use this space as a bit of an eyesight, so that we'll be able to share tourism information about the rest of the district as well. So we'll get benefit from that, as well as supporting them, was the idea. So we'll come back and confirm the numbers, though.
Okay, Marty's just shown me their presentation, and it looks like that's Yeah, that's matches up with pretty much with what the request was of council, so that's all good. Yep, I'm happy, yep.
I think we're all very happy with that one, but it might come up again a bit later in the slides. Tourism Infrastructure Fund.
Tourism Infrastructure Fund, there's currently funding, well, there's funding in the current annual plan. That funding is going towards 3 CWB toilets. The locations are on the slide. There is no funding in the draft LTP.
Okay. Everybody happy with that?
I have a question.
Yeah?
I thought there was some external funding that had actually been secured for some, if not all, of these toilets. Where's that gone to?
Mike? Thank you.
So that funding is in this financial year, and with respect to those 3 loos, 2 are consented for, and we think will be constructed in February. The other one we're still waiting for consent for, and hopefully is later on this financial year. So that money will flow through this from the Tourism Infrastructure Fund this financial year, councillor. So it won't appear in the LTP because we hope to have it all done and dusted by 30 June 24.
So it's not funded in the LTP, but it is happening.
Yes,
Is that right?
this year. Yeah.
Great. Just to be clear on that. Environmental initiatives. Oh, sorry, Liz.
Well, yeah, the term Tourism Infrastructure Fund just struck a chord with me, and Jocelyn's raised this before as well. I do think we need, and the EDKB, I know, is looking at it, we need to have some projects identified for the whatever provincial growth fund or whatever they're going to call it under the new government. We need to not get caught with our pants down, so to speak, like we did with the Te Urihi situation, and have some pre-prepared applications in our back pocket for when these funding opportunities arise. So,
So we're not rushing, yeah,
Yep,
because there's
not
often the
scrambling at the
timeframes are
last
so
minute.
short, and then we'd also have time to get iwi input into those
yeah.
applications.
So I
as
think
well.
that's actually something that for the EDKB to be a little bit more focused on, I think.
Great. What I'll
yeah.
do is commit to coming back early in the new year once we're back, so that we can continue that conversation, and I'll talk to the EDKB about starting to focus on that.
Yeah, that would be really good to get more organised in that space.
And just flagging perhaps Wellsong could be a test case for that in the first instance, or something, or some related infrastructure around that, or something along that sort of line as well. Some other projects that could get tied. Just saying.
Thank you, Martin. Environmental Initiatives Fund, what I'm seeing there is that we're not quite ready for it. Need to do the Whaitua first. So that's a future thing. Everybody happy with that? Waikanaiki Uti Tai. So we're able to fund that through our existing revenue stream, so we don't need to add it. Okay, those
Perfect.
2 seem quite simple. Jocelyn,
So I'm just wondering how much, what the dollar figure is there, please.
okay, well, yeah, Mike?
It's about $200,000, mixture of capex and mostly capex. Per year. Yeah.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Develop Waikanae Beach Hall, the one we've all been waiting for. Mike, do you want to take us through this one?
This is the next slide.
Yeah.
We just got a question, I think, on
Oh, sorry.
Waikanae
Shelley.
Kia Ora
What,
Ki Tai.
what is the Waikanae Udakai Tai? Did I miss something?
It means from the mountains to the sea, and it's a partnership with Greater Wellington and iwi.
Is it
Doing
for
work.
planting?
Should we provide some information, Mike?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Yeah. In fact, I've got a booklet I can give you on my coffee table. I'll make sure I get you one next week. Develop Waikanae Beach Hall. Mike?
Thanks, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'm aware of the intense interest in the beach hall. Just a couple of comments I'd like to make. First is that before we rush to bricks and mortar, I'm really keen that we explore the opportunities of working through others, churches or perhaps the boat club. We haven't actually done that yet. And the second thing is I think that we should have a discussion around priorities across the district, because we have pressures on Paraparaumu and Otaki, which also has an earthquake-prone a community hall, and we haven't had the discussion yet about what the priorities are and where we might invest for best bang for buck. Appreciate that we haven't brought that advice to you yet, but I think it's important to have that discussion before we start planning to invest in new infrastructure.
Thanks, Mike. I think the message we're giving this time is that we are serious about doing something about this, and starting to look at it. I like that phrase, and it is time to look at options now. So yeah, good stuff. I think this is a good response for this LTP. What do other people think? Jocelyn?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm pleased that it's actually got on to this, even though there's no funding available, which is disappointing. I suppose I'm disappointed that probably the last 2 years there have been conversations around the speech hall, and there have been conversations around how we need to, look at the priorities for halls and about what we can do, and we're still hearing the same comments. Putting that aside, I see there in the recommendations, it said explore opportunities for other existing providers within the facility. There's nothing in there about exploring these options or any timeframes, and I'm keen to have a dollar figure and some timeframes in which to do that, please.
Okay, that will come, I guess. Mike, will it? This is quite high level.
Well, I think having a dollar figure, because I know there's there's actually money already sitting. Well, I assume it's still going to be carried. The money's going to be carried over to the next long-term plan.
Yeah, there's $250,000 capex in the LTP, existing LTP. That was to repair the old hall. I think a feasibility study or perhaps options analysis is probably the next step that's required. We could certainly signal that in the long-term plan, but I'd be reluctant to put a big capex lump in there until we actually know what it is that we are trying to achieve.
I agree with that, and I think this will be the second time it's been carried over, that amount of money.
First, it's carried over to annual plans.
Yes, so I suppose what is also occurring each time that happens is that money's being eroded in terms of what you can do. So it would be great to actually have, and I know we are obviously got a sinking lid policy here, but to actually have it at least increase to the rate of inflation or housing or building costs. So that's my first request. The other part is in terms of a feasibility study. It's great that we have that commitment, but would that be done in the first year?
Yeah, we could do it in year one. Just I need to signal that I'm not sure we can use capex to do a feasibility study, so it would have to be OPEX funded. So we might need to come back to you with some advice around that.
Yeah. Just to confirm, you can't capitalise a feasibility study at all, so it is OPEX, so it'll have a rates impact.
So are we asking you to come back with information around a feasibility study? Do people want to do that? I think, what have we got in the slides?
No.
I think we're just looking at options in this first year and exploring opportunities with other existing providers. I'm not getting a steer from the whole table that we want to increase rates to do a feasibility study in year one. Am I getting...
You've got to start at square one.
Okay, Jocelyn's still going, I'm afraid, Martin.
So I suppose in terms of what's in the recommendations, there's no point actually having any of those recommendations in there if there's no OPEX money attached to them. And to me, the Mayor's just said how, it's now time to look at options. Without a feasibility study, you can't actually do that. So you can't, say it's now time to do it, but not actually walk the talk.
Okay, Mike's got something to say about that.
So I think we could safely explore options with other providers at the beach within baseline. I don't think that would be a substantial piece of work. So I think we could certainly get on with that next year without having to kind of unduly upset our financials.
Yep.
So when I'm looking at the recommendations here, it said the existing Waikanae Beach Hall has 10 years life remaining, and it is now time to look at options now. So that there is the key to this. On top of what you've just mentioned now.
Yeah. So, Martin, you're next.
Sorry, Jocelyn.
Oh, Darren,
This
sorry.
is in relation to this hall here as well. I was at the meeting when the Waikanae Community, Waikanae Community Board asked for that money not to be spent on the hall. Council officers were pretty clear at the time there was no budget with regards to replacing that hall. I look at Ocean Road down at Paraparaumu Beach. That money was raised by the community. I know that the community down there says we don't spend any money on them, but I will point out the spend on Mahara Gallery, the spend on the library, and some very big spends happening in Waikanae around there as well. So if the association down there want to start looking at a partnership arrangement where they can go out and try and source some funding or do fundraising or all that sort of scenarios they did down here, I'm sure that would be well supported. But it was made pretty clear at the time. Council had the budget there. They were they were going to look at upgrading the hall, but and the comment was, don't throw good money after bad. I think at the time, in other words, start looking at options. So I think it's great that they are looking at other ways they can partner with potential other buildings down there. But if the area down there wants a purpose-built hall, then maybe they should be doing some work in that space themselves as well.
St. Peter's and Paikakariki.
So I think it's acknowledged that there's not enough money in the budget to fund a new hall, and that's why the money's been carried over, so that repairs aren't continued on that hall, because at the end of the day, it's all probably going to be thrown down. So there actually has been quite a lot of work that has been done on that, and I think all councillors got an email about that, showing a potential design and looking at 2 options for location. So a lot of work has been done by the community on that.
Yep. Not saying that they haven't made an effort so far. Bit of water under the bridge though, if they want to raise funds for a new facility. Okay, so we've finished that slide. I just want to check in with everybody that all that we're happy with all those recommendations, noting that the one around Wellington NZ is a work in progress and we're waiting to hear from them in February. Everybody happy? Yep. Can't all be happy all the time, I guess.
Right.
Consultation topics. I'd quite like to get through this before we go, and then we'll leave the finance stuff
For next
for
week.
next time.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we're on slide number 24. 24. So look, we've just really compiled a list of consultation topics to discuss. Be helpful if we could get sort of a steer or an indication of a yes or a no. So first one is a possible transfer of the older person's housing to a CHIP. So there is a paper that's due to come to council on the 14th of December, and possibly the outcome of that paper will inform whether or not that is a consultation topic.
Everybody happy with that one? Yep. Next one.
Blue Bluff slip. So again, this is something that's coming to council at a later date. But the initial thinking is potentially this could be a consultation topic as to whether to open or close the road. Full stop.
I think that would be a good one because we'd find out how much people care about it ahead of doing extra work.
Yeah,
Martin?
I remember talking to Sean about this in regards to options for there. He said we might not have a choice. It was one of the things he told me that it's something that NZTA might make us do and have funding attached to that. Has that been explored? Have we been given an indication from them around that at all?
I'll go to Darren.
We haven't had an update on that, Martin, and just before Sean left, he pretty much just reiterated what Mark had said, is that looking at the options, do we open it, do we close it? If we are going to close it, we do have to consult on the road closure, so this could be the mechanism for that.
Ngā Manu.
So Ngā Manu Nature Reserve, so we've just talked about that. This is the $1.9 million funding to develop the facility. So again, this potentially could be so it's included in the draft LTP. It could be a consultation topic.
So instead of it being included in the LTP, it could be a consultation topic. I'm not quite sure.
So
do
the
you
consultation topic must have our preferred options. So we could consult and say we've included in the draft LTP. That's our preferred option. If you take it out of the LTP, this is the impact that it has on capex, debt, and rates. Or you don't consult on it at all.
What do people think? 3 options there.
I think it should be consulted.
I
It's a
think
big
it should.
spend
We
on a private
consulted
business, yeah.
2 or 3 times on Toimahara.
Yep.
And it's a similar kind of scenario and a similar kind of amount of money, so that would be consistent with other organisations.
Okay,
Gives an opportunity for people to come in and say how much they love birds.
Thank you. Thank you. So just before we go any further, so it's a yes. So it's a yes to consult on that.
So to me, I would quite like to include it and consult on it.
Yes. Okay.
Option 2, I think that was that you gave us. Is
Yes.
that what people want to do? Because we think it's a good idea, but we just want to check, right?
So we
Rather
include,
than throwing it open.
yes. And was there a firm position on the older persons housing, or they were just waiting for the council paper and we're waiting for the briefing with council on the Blue
I
Bluff?
think I got a steer that based on what people know already, I wasn't at the briefing last week, that we want to consult on it. Is that right? Yep. Chip, older persons housing. That'll attract a bit of interest. It'll be interesting to hear what people have to say.
Okay, thank you. Then the next one is the climate action targeted rate. So we are doing a rating system review, and we are modelling a new rate in the rating system, which would be a climate action or climate change rate. But what we are modelling is, so included in council budgets is funding to do things for climate change, and so it's pointing that funding at a rate. Okay, so the 12% rates increase one of those rates would be a climate change rate. However, what we're not advocating for is that the climate change rate is another levy. So we're not increasing. So we're not saying, so of the 12%, we're not saying add another 5% to that. So because we're introducing a new rate, or proposing to introduce a new rate, you have to consult on that as part of your rating system review. So it's really just, well, I guess what we're signaling to you is we're factoring that in, but it's just collecting some of the rates that make up our existing budgets. It's not a levy. So we wanted to just check, did you want it to be a levy, in which case it's a separate consultation issue.
Okay, Jocelyn?
I'm interested to know if you're able to provide the information, what percentage rate would this be?
Yeah, we will be able to do that. So on the 12th, we are presenting back the entire rating system review. We'll see that percentage, but it's a little bit like the commercial rate that we introduced. So it's crawl, walk, run. So we took a small part of the economic development budget and assigned that to the commercial rate. This will be the same thing, because because council is a business, multiple businesses, there's budgets that relate to climate change absolutely everywhere. To focus that onto a rate's really hard. So it'll be a small percentage, but it won't be everything.
Yeah, so I suppose it's just a ballpark so people know what the.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. I couldn't tell you right now,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
will present
yeah,
that.
it's fine, but it's a case of I think people need to know what they're signing up for or not signing up to. Thank you.
So
Sophie.
So just to clarify the difference between a rate and a levy. So if we set it as a rate now, or we put out to consultation that that's what we were seeking to do, say in the next long-term plan, if we wanted to increase that rate, we could do that then. But you're just saying we'll implement it in, and then we can. So just because it's a rate doesn't mean we can't increase it and therefore collect more from it.
totally,
Cool.
totally correct.
Cool. Yeah. No.
We're
if
just
it's in
we're
the
just
system.
establishing it's a rate.
Yeah.
We re-rate for some of our budget is rated through a new rate.
Cool. And then it gives us the opportunity to, quite transparently increase that.
Yes.
If there are, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Glenn?
So if this goes out to consultation, it would be quite clear and explicit, I'm assuming. We would listen to the people, or would we not listen to the people?
We always listen to the people, Glenn.
Okay, great, that's awesome. Would we be breaking down, as part of that consultation, do we break it down into age group? Like we have done in some sort of feedback sessions that we've had previously?
Yeah. So
Which was quite destructive to the good
Yeah.
name of our council over the last few weeks, or not?
So it'll be part of the consultation document, where we will be asking for people's views specifically on things. So it'll be specifically on the rating system review. We then analyse that. So in the past, we actually outsourced the analysis. We will be analysing it. Maybe Cheryl can jump online. I'm not too sure if we're asking a whole lot of people their age, the demographic questions.
Okay.
It just depends on what we can analyse. So maybe Cheryl's able just to shed some light on that.
Yeah, and before Cheryl jumps in, so we'll be asking, yes, for a rate, targeted rate or levy, or
We
we will propose either.
Yes,
a levy or a rate.
No, we will be consulting. We'll be asking for, do you support a new rate to a new targeted rate, capital value rate for climate change?
Awesome, thank you.
Does Cheryl want to add anything? Do you need to add anything, Cheryl, or is that?
Not really. I can't recall whether we do ask for demographics in our consultation, but that's still something we can add if that's what we really want to do. That's not a problem whatsoever.
We usually keep it pretty simple. This one, don't we? We're more looking at the quality of the feedback and what people have to say about things.
One of the questions that we do ask is location, like which ward are you from, so that we can see how many submissions we're getting on any particular topic from whichever location. Anything that helps us to truly analyse the preferences of the community. So I'm not sure that demographic would make much of a difference in that respect. I've certainly, in my experience, I've never done demographics. As part of the
We had a little
consultation.
bit of feedback that people didn't particularly like being asked their age too during the last bit.
Yeah.
Glenn?
Yeah, or no, just you probably know where I'm going with this. I'd prefer that we didn't even go out and with a even ask a climate action targeted rate, but I think I'm probably in the minority around the table, so just viewing my opinion on that,
I don't.
considering where we're sort of going to be landing or heading.
Well, I don't.
But
I'm
I'll listen
inclined
to
to
the people.
agree. Actually,
Yeah, that's
Glenn.
fine. If
I
the
think
community
it
come
adds
back
an
and
unnecessary layer of complexity when we're spending
Yeah.
money in the climate space anyway.
having
but,
said that, if the community come
won't die
back
in a
and
ditch
want it,
over
then
it.
I'll vote for it. So
Yeah,
it's democracy.
Jocelyn.
So I have a question. I have to say, go back to the Waikanae Beach Hall. So the plan is not to put anything in the long-term plan for this. That hall, by 2033, something needs to be done to it. that basically is the time frame for this long-term plan. So there's no planning between now and then for that.
Darren?
Thank you. Thanks, Jocelyn. So there's the first piece, and can we go back to that? Thanks, mate. Sorry. So in the recommendation says not funded in draft long-term plan. We revisit the long-term plan in 27, and then again in 30, and then in 33. So there is opportunity. What we are saying now is that we're not looking to fund anything. We're pretty full at the minute.
That, sorry. Mike will be
I
able
know
to make...
you want to advocate for this,
Yeah,
Jocelyn,
just
but
listen-
A, we're going backwards, B, it's after 5, and C, I'm not seeing a general nod around the table that they want to put extra funds in year 1 of the
if
long-term plan.
Yeah. So to me, if I can just make the comment, I think this is going backwards because I think previously there has been money allocated for a replacement hall in the long-term plan, and now there is not. I think it was when
I
it was 20 years.
I don't know
Yeah,
whether
I
that's
think there
correct or
was.
not. I just want to be clear, we all really want to sort something out down there, but just we're not ready for a feasibility study right now. That's all, not straight away.
So I have one more question. OPEX for Mahara Gallery is not included in today. Is that coming at some other point in the very short?
Yes, that's coming later.
When's later? Next week.
Mark?
Well, I'll defer to Mike, but the 12% rates increase includes 400k funding, the top up, but a different model is being looked at, which is coming later.
That's correct, and we know that councillors are interested in having a look at that, and we have a brief coming to you in the new year on exactly that. We'd hope to have it this week, but unfortunately couldn't get the right people together.
So shouldn't we be given the option about whether that's consulted on or not?
Darren?
We can, but the simple answer is it won't trigger. It's not significant. Significant engagement policy. This is where we need, and you'll be sick of me saying this by the end of the process. This is where we need to think strategically. We'll bring it to you. It's $400,000 of operating, which in the scale of $100 million spend is minor. So it won't go close in any way, shape or form to triggering the policy. That being said, there is no suggestion that it's not coming back to this table for you to consider. It's just that we can't meet the dates with some of the trustees because of personal commitment. So it's not that we're avoiding the discussion, it's simply that we can't fit it in at the minute. It's the same as Wellington NZ. I would have loved to have had them in front of you before the end of this year, but we can't because they're tied up with graduations, which takes precedent over us. So it's coming back. Rest assured, it is coming back. It's at the front of mind, and you'll have an opportunity to discuss. But I don't see how it triggers that policy.
Okay, Jocelyn, one more comment or question, and then I'm wrapping up this briefing.
Yeah.
I'm just being clear.
Yes.
One more comment, and then I will wrap up. Okay.
So I understand all that, but the key thing is that has not been included in an option about whether or not we consult on providing OPEX to that, to the library. I mean, to the
Look, Jocelyn,
gallery.
we've heard it's coming back in a briefing.
But
I'm
that's
going
not
to move the
actually-
conversation on because we do actually have another slide,
We haven't
and I
had
want to
the
get through
option
it.
to consider
Thanks.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, slide number 25, I'm actually going to go to the middle one. So the middle one is so the option is to So the council is sitting at 12% because you are because of the option to debt fund the increased depreciation on the three waters. If you don't do that, our rates increase could go to 17.1% because there's $5 million or 4.9 million. So one of the options is to make a decision either way. So you could say we're on 12% because we're debt funding the increased depreciation on the three waters. You consult on that. Do you want to rates fund it or debt fund it? You could flip it the other way and you say our rates increases are 17.1% because it includes an uplift on the three waters, but you could debt fund that to bring rates down. So that's an option.
Second one sounds good for the moment. Yeah.
Yep.
We can bring this down, but we don't think it's the prudent financial decision. And some really clear communication around that, and that we'd need to update our financial policy and how we do that. I'm going to go to Martin.
Yeah, look, two questions. First one's in relation to this one, the other's back a slide. But I'm just curious. We charge our water rates. We don't actually charge water rates. We have a separate rate for water and that sort of stuff. And I'm just curious to know, that's supposed to fund our water provision and that sort of stuff. So I'm just a little curious to know, why is that not being picked up? If we've got a figure or a depreciation with regards to that, why is that not being picked up in that particular bill? As such, in other words, separate from the rates as such, because that's a separate bill. It's not included in rates, but it's supposed to be taking care of our water infrastructure as such. Just curious about that.
So the water account is a closed account, and so it's meant to be self-funding, and in the passage of time. This council hasn't increased its water charges, its variable charge or its fixed charge for the last 3 years because we were sitting in a surplus, and we used that surplus to reduce rates. For the last 2 years, we haven't actually rate funded the increase in depreciation because of the Three Waters reform, so we've been applying this policy. So over time, there's created a gap. We've also been doing the revaluations. So when you set your rates, the rate increases are taking an estimate of what the revaluation impacts will be, but we've been way out. And so what's happening is the cost of providing water, wastewater, and stormwater are slowly becoming so far removed with what we're charging.
Yep, I get that. Again, I was just curious to know why. Okay, we haven't put the ring-fence charge up because of that. So why aren't we? Rather than this rate increase, why aren't we putting that bill up instead?
Look, it's a really good question. We will, when we look at the rating system review next week, we'll have a look at, in the past where we've been behind for affordability, we've done a smoothing. So we've taken the number of years to catch up. If we were to do it in one go, it would be very, very expensive.
Well, just saying there may be, we do this as a one-off, but we start increasing that one as well again if that's the case. Because it's supposed to pay for itself, and it just seems like
the biggest driver of
pain involved there. It doesn't matter. It's still got to sit where it's got to sit.
The biggest driver of the 5.1 million has been revaluations. The last two revaluations because of the Three Waters reform. So it's very, very hard to recoup $5 million by increasing the water fees. But the council also we're also limited the percentage that we can charge by fixed and variable. It's a 55-45 split. So that caps us as well.
Okay, that's good. As long as we haven't got no squiz in there, that's fine. But I'll just pop back one slide quickly as well. I just want something, and I'll be quick on this one. Just at the bottom there, anything from prior discussions, council initiatives. I was just wondering, in the consultation document, I appreciate that we're not getting your $3 million for Whale Song or anything like that, but is there any way that we can pop a narrative or consider popping a narrative in there with regards to maybe the partnership relationship we've got in that space? Just could be quite handy for future funding opportunities as such. Just, sorry? Okay, yeah, just taking it as for a consideration, not asking for an answer today or anything like that at all. It could just be some part of a narrative.
So So on the 14th, you'll see a draft design concept consultation document, how it'll look. Our starter for 10 is the minimum requirements of the consultation document. We're trying to keep it to a consultation document, not an information document. But of course, we'll be guided by yourselves, but we are going to try and bring back, I think the minimum is 28 pages long. Yeah.
Wouldn't be top of mind for me for something for the consultation document. If we were doing a full-blown brick like we used to, maybe. Glenn?
Just quickly to outstanding question, Martin, on the water meters, but I was just sitting here musing, and the water meters only collect one of the 3 waters. We'd need to put a meter on the toilets and charge by weight, possibly, to catch the other 2.
Well, some councils make a whole lot of revenue off industrial waste, but that's not really an option.
Yeah, so that may be one of the reasons. I don't know. I'm not a. But the 12 to 17. So just confirming that's an average.
Yes.
Do we know what some people are going to be smacked with on the upper? Or no? Do you not do that? Is that done post? Or is there some modelling done to give an indication who's going to be hit harder?
There is. So the modelling that we do as part of the rating system review, we show the outliers and where the majority of the rates increases are. So we'll get a good steer of that.
And we'll get to see that.
Yeah,
Obviously. Okay.
that's next week. So I just want to clarify. I think the steer from the room was to go for the 17.1%. So rates fund the increased depreciation, but provide the option to reduce that by 12% by debt funding. And so then that couples quite nicely to the one above it, which is another option, is to reduce your debt by rates funding. So including in your financial strategy a mechanism to repay your debt through rates funding. So for example, if you're consulting on, we are 17, we'll go down to 12 if we debt fund $5 million. Then you're also then putting an option there, how do you pay that back? You can pay it back faster, but that means we need to introduce that mechanism, which means you have to give something up. So if you're rate funding 2% to repay debt, something's got to give. So we're gonna have to identify what that is before we consulting.
No adventure playground.
Just a question. Could we not just instead say that it goes down to 13% and that 1% is your repayment of debt?
I did suggest that apart.
You can do variables. I guess the concept is, do you want the financial strategy to start repaying debt? Because at the moment we're just adding, refinancing, and it's growing.
I think we need to. I think we all feel like we need to. I mean, I think you can kind of get a steer by the council table deciding not to fund the rates rise through debt.
Yes.
I think that gives you an idea of the kind of attitude this council has to not kicking the can down the road, and to be honest, it's not quite what I was expecting, but I think
So yes.
it's good.
Okay. So look, thank you. So I think we've got yeses to everything that we've got on the list. We haven't talked about the DC policy changes, but just what we'll need to do, because we've got to talk about the finances next week, what we'll need to do to make the accelerating your debt repayments a reality, we're going to have to give you some options, and we'll need to do that next week. So as part of the long-term plan, you look at your major policies like your DC, your revenue and financing.
Development contribution.
Oh, DC, development contribution policy changes. So normally, you can just consult on your DC policy changes as part of your LTP or alongside your LTP, but I think we're actually proposing quite significant changes to the DC policy. So you might want it to be a primary consultation topic. And then it says see next slides because we were going to take you through what those are,
But
we'll
we're not.
transfer that to next week.
Not right now. Kick that can down the road. Hey, thanks for your time and thank you for staying overtime today, elected members. Really appreciate your input, and I hope staff you've got a clear idea about the kind of direction we want to be going in all of this. And we'll see you all next week.
Thank you very much. That's great.